Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. Today, we're going to venture into the world of wrestling. Not just any type of wrestling, but female wrestling. I know you might be thinking, why female wrestling at this point? Well, let's talk about a journey of a young girl who ventured into different categories of her life. And then at the age of 30, around the age of 30s, her 30s, decided to completely do a complete change in lifestyle and decided to wrestle. And not just wrestle, but wrestle to where the point that she is creating a brand, kicking ass in the ring, and really becoming a household name. So, without further ado, let's welcome to the show the one, the only Buff Barbie to the show. What's up, baby girl?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Buff Barbie, man, what a name. Before we get into the name, before we get into the journey, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are.
Well, I'm technically from a small town in Illinois. And I had a pretty good childhood. Like, both my parents were very loving. But I didn't grow up in like one of those regular households where like parents made a lot of money. Like, my dad was a functioning alcoholic, but like he was very involved with us. So like I grew up learning like about life a little bit earlier than some other people have, like what it's like for people to have addiction, those kind of struggles. But again, even though with all that, I had a pretty good childhood, very close knit family. And then I got away from the area at some point. Like, there's nothing really there. It's a very small town, so it's kind of hard to excel in a small town when there's nothing there to like help you build or achieve your goals. Like, you couldn't get into wrestling coming from that small town. Like, there is no wrestling around there. So I didn't really know a lot about wrestling when I was younger. So unfortunately, no, I did not watch. There's been some times like with my dad, I would like sit and watch it, but like I was never like hardcore into wrestling right off the bat when I was a kid. I didn't lift weights like that. I played softball. But I didn't have all the knowledge that I do now about like macros, calories, different workouts, all those kinds of things. So people are like, how'd you even get into all this stuff? Because you obviously didn't grow up around any of it. And it was like going into like my career and having a breaking point in my life where I was just not happy with myself. I am a college graduate. I have a master's in social work. People are like very stunned when they hear all the things that I do have. Like, I am a licensed Missouri social worker. So I technically am a therapist and I'm really good at it. I've done it for like several years.
Look, Barbie, are you evaluating your opponents before they get in the ring?
I mean, it comes in handy.
Let's go back for a minute. You said something that was interesting. You said you grew up in a small town in the Illinois area. But you said something about functioning addiction or addiction. How was that even introduced? I know it was introduced through, you said your father was a functioning alcoholic, but how was addiction even dealt with you growing up? Because you said at a young age you was exposed to it and you was able to deal with it. What was that process like? Because I never heard of somebody dealing with addiction.
So I didn't struggle with it myself. I watched my dad struggle with it and how it affected his marriage with my mom. And I like as I got up a little bit older, I would say maybe even close to being in high school, like I noticed like one of my brothers struggled with addiction as well, and it was more of like the painkillers and like that kind of addiction, opioid addiction.
Right.
So I watched my dad go through the alcohol and my brother kind of like struggle with the opioid addiction and how it just like took over their lives and it like destroyed a lot of opportunities for them.
Mhm.
Like my dad could have did a ton of things. Like he was super smart. Like he was a carpenter. He ran his own lead team of people. Made really good money doing it. I didn't even know how much money he made. He told me one time, well, I used to bring home like $8,000 a week, and like I keep 2,000 for myself, and the rest would go to your mom. I'm like, no kidding. Like, why did I not have any? And he was like, but my mom was like, he used to blow it. Like, some people say, oh, it's bad growing up in that kind of lifestyle. But there were some funny moments. Like, my dad's passed away from lung cancer, but like, when we were kids, like, I do remember some moments being hilarious to me just because it was like my mom and dad, like, my mom used to pick my dad's pockets when he was passed out being drunk. Being drunk. So he had no more money to spend.
That is funny. So you was really close to both parents, despite your dad's addiction. Did your mom have an addiction?
No, no, no. But my mom was colorblind, so she couldn't drive. She couldn't see as well to have a regular job, so she'd always been a housewife.
Really? How was she able?
Yeah.
How was she able to function like that? Like have a sustainable type of life? Who drove for her if her and your dad was divorced?
Well, no, they had never divorced. They were always together. They just had a really rough
Okay.
marriage.
Oh, I got
Yeah.
you. Okay.
So my mom was like, so I mean, she obviously when my dad had his license because he did lose it from the DUI at some point. But when
Right.
my dad had his license, he took her places. But then my grandma and my aunt and them, like her family, lived close in the area, so they'd pitch in. And then my cousin started getting old enough to drive, and just like that. And then we'd have to go do stuff. She would take us clothes shopping every time he got paid. Like I feel like I had a lot more clothes and all the things that I could want when I was younger versus when I got older. Because then my dad got on disability for hurting himself,
Right.
being under the influence. So that's why I said like it takes a lot of things from people and opportunities. Because he could have ran his own business and been very wealthy if he would have played it smart. But he had like two or three three-wheeler wrecks. Pretty
Wow.
much did him in, messed up his neck, his back, knocked out most of his teeth. Like it was pretty bad. So with that being said, like so my parents had it pretty rough, but like even with that, like my mom really felt like she had no other choice but to stay in the marriage because she
Okay.
depended on him.
I got you.
So my mom always taught me, and so did my dad actually, don't you ever depend on a man to take care of you. That's why I'm so independent, why I'm like take care of myself all the time.
But do you find that to be a hindrance? Because some things, even though they may sound good, can also be a handicap for you too, because you're so independent that you don't leave room for anything else, so to speak.
Well, I've let people like do stuff for me, like in relationships, we've kind of did like a 50-50.
Hmm.
But like I haven't had a ton of serious relationships to where like I've had like the male try to step up and say, "Oh, I'm gonna take care of all this stuff for you." Um, I did not too long, it was over like 2 months ago. That was taken on a shopping spree and spent like 26 grand. But
Wow. Did you
yeah,
buy,
we
did you buy a Louis Vuitton bag?
actually I did.
26 grand, you might as well. You know what I'm saying? What do you got to lose?
I ended up getting Gucci luggage, new Mac Pro tablet, Louis Vuitton shoes, the tennis shoes,
But do,
bag.
but do you think that now, this to stick with that independent type thing, do you think being who you are, developing your brand in the wrestling industry on television, you have, uh, um, you know, uh, a lot of visibility. How do you determine if somebody is just with you or buying because they want to be next to you, then they're not really serious? Because you are who you are. How do you determine who's serious and who's not?
Well, I mean, I try to get to know somebody, like, and obviously I pay attention. Like, if I do something for you if you're more like affectionate and I'm like giving you more attention, but like if you act a certain way when I'm not doing things for you, fight if I don't do something for you financially or I don't do things for you at all, it's like I can just pay attention to behaviors and interactions and
Mhm.
tell when somebody's like legitimately trying to talk to me. But I'm so used to guys just like wanting to be honest, like sleep with me. Like I don't get into relationships like that very often, and I don't have like a bunch of one night stands and stuff because I'm not going to be used as a sex object. I
Yeah.
refuse.
You wind up leaving you wind up leaving Illinois. What was the reasons for leaving, and why did you choose Kansas City?
It's funny. I feel like everything works out for a reason. I'm a Christian, so I feel like God has like moved me in different areas for a
Okay.
reason. But um, I ended up leaving initially because I couldn't like find a job in my field. Um, and um, Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and share it. Like, I got in trouble a long time ago, and I ended up getting charges. I won't go deep into all those charges,
Mhm.
but an ex of mine was very shitty ex. Pardon my language, but he got me into a lot of trouble. And if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't even have had any type of record. But like, I worked really hard to overcome all that stuff, which
Mhm.
is why I went into social work. So I helped a lot of people, but I had my stuff sealed. So it's no longer like there anymore. Like I did so well that I was able to go to the judge and have them seal it. Actually, the judge was trying to completely get rid of my record because what judge comes up in front of you and goes, I would love to get rid of it completely. I mean, she's a good American story to people. Like she worked so hard for this. The same judge that gave me my conviction.
That's odd.
Yeah, no, like that's how much of a like a turnaround I had. That's how like much of a difference I had changed and made. And like I never talked to that guy ever again. And I blocked him on everything. And still till this day, I see him try to look at my post or like my stuff, and I'm like, I'll never speak to him again because that's what I
Right.
call the bad omen. That's the one that really did me in.
So was it? You don't have to get technical with it, but was it? Was it physical and verbal? The
That
altercation you was having?
relationship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He tried putting his hands on me, and he was talking to me a sort of type of way. So yeah, I learned from that. Like I always learn from every single one of my relationships, like what not to do in the next one, and like what I'm not gonna put up with.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna put up with somebody putting their hands on me in my relationship.
So how did that amplify you to move to where you at now?
So I moved there because, and the reason why I got into that is because I couldn't find a job because my record wasn't sealed yet. So it's really hard for me to find a job.
Right. Did you
And
have
I
your
had my
degree yet, Buff? Did you have your degree yet?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
But even in my social work field, a lot of them won't hire somebody with a background in anything. I had an interview one time at a place that was like 30 minutes from my house, and they were like, "We would love to hire you, but we can't legally hire you because of the background." I'm like, "It's a," you know what I mean? Because I killed that interview. I was really good in that interview, and I thought I had it, and they were like, "It's the background. You know, that's the only thing, or you'd be like." Perfect. And so I ventured out and I was like, oh, screw it. I need to get away from here anyway. So I started applying everywhere, like all in Missouri, still in Illinois, but like eventually I got hired on in Missouri and I had to drive like an hour and a half. And that was a sucky job too. I didn't make a ton of money there either. It was like 15 something an hour.
Right.
You don't make a lot of money in the social work field. And so I finally moved there. And then when I was working there, I got a, and this is how I'm like showing you, I initially ended up in Kansas City area. When I got that, I got an interview over the phone to work for a Fulton State Hospital clinical
Mhm.
as a clinical case manager on the sex offender unit. So then I
Wow.
was a case manager on a medium security mental facility for people who were sex offenders. And that's not the funnest job. It's like very interesting. Yeah. So I was only there for like 8 months. I relocated from my area to Columbia, Missouri, because that hospital was in Fulton, Missouri, and it was like That was like the closest like place to Fulton that had like a better population. So I moved to Columbia, and then I ended up getting on online. It's just funny. Like you remember the POF app that people, the old school app, people would get on there to date online.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was on that app and I met my ex on there. I found somebody. We started talking, and then I was coming to Warrensburg, Missouri frequently, and so I finally relocated to Warrensburg, Missouri because now at this point I've had the record sealed. Like I had no troubles getting any jobs because of my experience in the field and the background I had in
Right.
it. So, whenever I did that, I moved there. We moved in together. We were together for like 4 years.
Mhm.
And this is how I kind of got over in this area. So I wanted to get into modeling. While I was in that Columbia, Missouri, like I decided like I had been the biggest I had ever been in my life. I was like, I'm 6 foot tall, but I was
Right.
like 188 pounds, and it wasn't more muscle. I did not have any muscle. I was like on the chunkier side. And so I wasn't fat because I'm tall and I carry it a little bit better, but I just didn't
Right.
like my body. And I didn't like how I was living my lifestyle. So that I started changing stuff slowly. I started getting rid of soda. I don't drink regular soda. I started getting rid of the sweets more. I started like staying on a meal plan. Started hiring an actual coach to help me like push me. I have to have somebody to hold me accountable or I'm bad about my diet. I can help others and make plans,
You
but
can't
it's
do
like
it
I have to have someone hold me accountable
yourself.
of my food because I love sweets. Like, yeah, I've got the strawberry Sour Patch Kids over here. It's Sunday. Like, I don't eat those all the time, but I have my times. But I learned to manage that stuff. But I got into the lifting and stuff, and because I got into lifting, I started thinning out and getting in shape. I don't know what made me think like, okay, I'm gonna start getting into modeling.
Right.
And so I went and I applied for a place that reached out to me. They were in Overland Park, Kansas. And all my appointments were over here. Like all the good doctors were over here. All the stuff was over here. And I'm like, you know what? I travel this way a lot. Like my ex and I finally broke up after 4 years. He didn't like the new version of me. He was into big women, so so he didn't like the muscular, more in shape version of me.
Right.
So we didn't really. So we just split our ways. It was a clean breakup though. So there was no hard feelings. And then I ended up moving to Lee Summit, Missouri. And then I just realized I don't like doing what I do anymore. Wouldn't mind being a therapist that got to work like virtually or in my own office.
Right.
But I don't like I don't like to work a 9 to 5 anymore. I realize I don't like it.
Right.
So
Why you didn't like it?
I like being my own boss. I like to be creative. I don't like to settle for making a hourly wage to make somebody else rich.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys, as a social worker in your field, it seems like it would be kind of boring because don't you have to follow the same protocol pretty much all the time when you're dealing with people?
Yes, you do. And you have to let people
Can't be
talk to you a
creative.
certain way.
Yeah, like you can't be creative or bring your expertise to the table. You have to follow the protocol. So I'm pretty sure that field would, even though it's a great field, it can be kind of boring
Yeah.
at times.
And here's another thing I forgot to mention. And there's another reason why I left the field is because, and I'm not it's like, so people have a stereotype of what a social worker should look like. They should be like maybe overweight, chunky, like not appealing, right? Older
Right.
lady, not appealing. That's what the social worker stereotype is. So when you are I'm not saying there's not some good-looking social workers, but when you stand out when you stand out in a group of women and you're like way more attractive than a lot of them, you get judged
What
and
do you
you
mean?
get targeted.
What do you mean?
Oh, anything I wore, like if it was tight, even if it was that somebody else wore it, that somebody would complain about me. Not the other person that has the wording and stuff on the back of their butt or something, but somebody would complain about something that I wore, even if it was covering. I have a long torso, so like my shirts sometimes, if I raise my hand up, would kind of go up a little bit. Somebody got onto me for that too, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm not gonna keep getting targeted and judged because I have a nice looking physique and you don't. Like,
So
and
then,
that was one of the things too.
okay, so then you wind up. That's what. So you wind up actually taking a job in Kansas City, but then wind up quitting the social work field, correct? Am I correct?
Yeah, I pretty much hung in there. I stayed in there. I left the place I was going to. It was just way too far. I was driving over an hour one way, and it was just way too much for me. And I had to be there at 7 in the morning. It was killing me. And I had to stay up with my gym and working out. It just was not working for me. So I ended up leaving them, and then I ended up working for another job over here, over in the area. Like it was a crisis, like an intake crisis thing. People would come in, and people would I would have to either assess the person to see if they were suicidal, if they were at harm to themselves or somebody else, and then make recommendations based on what I think needs to happen next, right? And I did make a huge difference there. I've had two people, one person come back and ask for me, and it was the day I was off. And they were like, "Oh my God, where's Christy at? Like, she's not here." And he was like, "Oh, I just want to thank her. She made me feel so good about myself yesterday." And it was really just me, motivational interviewing is what we call it. It's just instilling hope and empowerment in this guy who just didn't have much in life that he felt that he achieved. So he really wanted to thank me. And then I had another lady that was actually in the same field as me. She literally asked the doctor, the psychiatrist, after she was done, because that's the last person they see. She's like, "Can I see Christy again?" And she was thanking me and wanted to hug me. So I've always had good outcomes from that. I've never had anybody complain about me as a therapist side of things when I had done this stuff. So nothing but compliments, which I really liked. As I said, I'm really good at the job, and I'm great at listening to others, and I understand how it works. But I just wasn't happy there, and then I started getting modeling gigs on my own. I boosted myself on social media. I start advertising myself a lot, and I just don't give up. I just keep pushing and pushing. I'm like, "Damn, I don't have enough followers on Instagram. I don't have enough on TikTok." I just would give up so many times, but then I would just something would tell me "You need to just keep pushing. You need to just keep going."
How
And
long did it?
so
How long did it really take you to start to build your brand? And how long was it from the time that you quit the field of social work and to start building your brand, Buff Barbie?
well, I found out about Session Girls, which I don't know if you know what that is,
No,
but so Session Girls, it's kind of like an underground thing if you think about it. It's just not everyone doesn't know about it. So Session Girls is where women like me who are in shape or muscular, attractive. Most of the time you had to fit the criteria of being muscular or somewhat muscular, attractive, maybe not even attractive, because I've seen some girls that aren't attractive. No offense to those girls on the show. But you have to at least have muscularity. That's the main thing. Men are into the powerful, dominant, strong, muscular women. So
oh,
I
is that
found,
the women that fight? They get paid to go and wrestle men.
uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. I had a bodybuilding friend that did that, and I remember sharing this story with you. I was like, "Where are you going?" And she went to Brazil, and I was like, "Why are you going to Brazil?" And she said, "Andre." And this was in 2000. This shows you how far back this goes. This was
It's been around for a long
yeah.
time.
And she was like, "Hey, Andre, do you know there's men that literally want to be beat up and wrestle muscular women?"
Yep.
And I was like, "This crazy." I couldn't phantom it, but this wasn't even in 2000. This was this was around 2000 or late 90s that this has been around for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
wind up doing this. You wind up taking a job doing this kind of profession?
Yeah, basically working for myself though. Somebody just told me about it. You just post your picture up there, what you offer. There's even muscle workshop where you literally stand there and flex, and you pay for your time at an hourly rate. So, I was making $500 an hour anytime somebody wanted to meet with me privately to do a wrestling session or do what we call muscle worship session.
Well,
And that's
don't you worry about don't you worry about those individuals doing things to you that may or may hurt you, or how do you protect yourself going into something like that? You don't know these men or women, because it's both.
I've never had any female clients, just males mainly. So the way I do it is, so I'll travel somewhere, and this is how everyone does it. It's we'll travel to like a city or something. We get a hotel. Normally, the wrestling occurs like on the bed or a mat. Like there's piece mats you can bring and put them on the floor, and that's how you can wrestle. A lot of the times we like obviously they'll email us or they'll text us whatever form of communication we give them, and then we meet them they meet us at our hotels. Normally I will let my hotel staff know that what I'll tell them is because they're not going to understand the session girl thing. I say, hey, I'm a massage therapist. I've got some massage clients coming in that I travel to. I was like, so, like, this should only take me like an hour. So if you don't hear me from me a certain amount of time, I need you to call my room. And if I don't answer, then I need you to bring staff up here. I always like notify them. And I do have like a little stun knuckle thingy. I will zap the shit out of somebody if they try to mess with me the wrong way. But like, a lot of these guys are like timid and want to be overpowered. None of them come on with like a macho persona that makes me feel like they're going to try to overpower me. And I've never had that issue. Like, if anything, they're just like, oh my God, you're such a gorgeous, muscular goddess. Like, just, I want you to beat me up, or I want you to wrestle me and show me how strong you are.
Hey, Barbie, it takes all kind. I'm not here to judge.
No, I mean, I get it. Like, I don't share that with everybody, but I don't really care. Like, I make more money than most people make in a day than people make in a whole month. So it's like, I make money. So
Like, how
I don't have to go to 9 to 5.
How widespread is this? Do you find it's more men that are married or single men? Like, what kind of men are attracted to doing this kind of
All
stuff?
of them, married, not married. It's not even, and I don't sleep with anybody. Nope, at all. That's what I find is funny is women do the prostitution thing and like they probably get less for that. And I'm like, you don't have an idea. Like, you don't even got to do nothing but be yourself and like you get paid for it.
Okay, hey, Barbie. I mean, this is crazy. How many men have you smacked around?
That's a good question. Uh, at least 50, if not more.
Really?
Yeah, I've had quite a few. So here's the funny part. This is the fun part that everybody gets interested in. I was actually interviewed on Overnight Session. After
Right.
Hour Sessions is what it's called. It's another podcast.
Right.
I've been on there twice. So when I got on there and I discovered Session Girls through another guy that told me about it,
Right.
I blew up. Like my phone was blowing up constantly with emails. I already had somebody fly me to Los Angeles, paid for my trip first class, because some of the guys will sponsor you, so they call it, and they'll pay for your flight, your hotel, just so they can get you there. And this is a rich guys, and this guy was rich. He's like a finance dude, and he wanted to wrestle with me so bad that he paid for my flight, my hotel, and I was at the Beverly Hilton for like 3 days.
Wow.
So it
Like,
was
how long is a
expensive.
session? Like, what do they get out of this? How long is a session?
Well, it just depends. I literally had a 5 hour session in a row. Literally, he was like a doctor level, and I did 5 hour session with him, and it literally was just me pinning him down, like dominating him and being like aggressive, and that was it. And I did that for like 5 hours straight, and I walked out there with like $2,500.
He just wanted to be pinned down
Yeah,
and humiliated, pretty much. For
yeah, it would pin down, like me, like hurry up and like sit on his head or like and like bounce on his chest, like it's bizarre, but yeah, these guys, it's a fetish.
did you
It's
walk
like being a
out?
fetish model, basically, is what I call it.
I bet you walk out and you just go, show me the money.
Oh yeah, like when I used to leave from those places, I would only be there for like 2 days tops. This is with the flight and everything. I'd
Right.
normally be out of there in a few days. I literally would come back, and these are, and I make them put deposits down because people ask, well, how do you know they're not going to pay you, and you go here and waste your money? And I was like, no, I make them all put deposits down. I make them put like it used to be like it was a $200 or $200 deposit for like at least 500, or if they got 2 hour sessions, which that's 1,000, they would have to pay 300 up in advance. So for deposits, I'd already collected like 3 grand or 4 grand in just deposits. And then when I get there, I clear out over 3,000. Sometimes one time I cleared over five. It just depends on how many sessions I had. in 2 days.
How do women look at you? Because you're still trying to build a brand. And I get it. You know, if you can make the money that way, like you said, a prostitute is doing this and you're doing something that's safe, you're controlling the narrative. But how do women perceive you and how do men perceive you?
So I have a lot of girls that, and then I have a lot of haters too. It comes with the territory.
Right.
I have a lot of girls though that are like, "Oh my god," you know what I mean? They're like, they're like, I girl fan over you. They was like, because they say, "I love your physique. I love how like you do stuff. Like you're not the average person. You gave yourself this cool ass iconic name. You fit the description. Like you do all this stuff. Like a lot of women look up to me. A lot of little girls think I'm just so pretty. Like, you know, at one time I dressed up like Barbie for the Union Station, had like the Barbie movie, the
Right.
Barbie movie going. I literally dressed up like as Barbie. I had like a crop top that said, "Let's go Barbie, let's go party." And then I wore like some purple neon leggings I thought would make it pop with some hot pink tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And I was like more shredded then, and so I had more definition. And I had all these little girls and moms come up to me and say, "Oh my God, Miss Barbie, can we have a picture with you?" I literally had little girls wanting to take pictures with me for like some hours, like before the movie got started. Like these little girls were excited, and the moms even wanted to take pictures with me. I was like, "Well,
Right.
this is really cool."
So let's move forward a little bit. Um, you do this, but how did the wrestling come about? Because now you're in the wrestling. How did that even come about?
So that came about because I'm into bodybuilding, and I've lifted for 6 years. People ask me how long you lifted. 6 years it took me to get to this size. So that's not an overnight thing. That's a huge accomplishment. It takes time and discipline. So I was in the bodybuilding first. I had two competition, or I had one competition. I had two classes I competed in. I won the novice and true novice class for the wellness division,
Mm-hmm.
and I won my first time. I didn't win the overall because my coach didn't tell me I needed to enter the overall, or I would have won because I had the best physique.
Okay.
So I made that accomplishment, super happy, started building back up, and then like I always wanted to model, like be sponsored. I've always wanted to like do modeling, be in like maybe even commercials, like movies and stuff. I never went to acting school and stuff, so I was like, what can I do? Like, what is my niche? I was kept trying to figure out like what was my thing. I love the lifting, I love being in shape,
Mm-hmm.
but I love the fitness side of everything. But I love the entertainment industry as well.
Right.
I don't want something boring either. So like one day somebody just mentioned to me like he's like you would be an awesome wrestler, and I was like why did I never think about that before? So I looked into it and I was like, this actually is pretty much what I want to do. Like they have to learn to wrestle. They're putting on a theatric, like you're getting into it, you're like
Right.
having fun. And I was like, this is exactly what I need. So I was like, so I reached out to somebody that was like, I have a lot of people that say they're going to help me or they're rooting for me, but there's not a lot people can do if they don't know how to market me, right?
Right. Right.
So the right person has to know how to market me, and I would blow up. I already know that. But so like what happened was this person was like, "Oh, well, I know somebody. Like, I'll talk to him." Chase, is it Chase Stevens? So he talked to him. He's a wrestler too,
Right.
and he hooked me up with somebody that's an hour from Kansas City. I can't remember which town it was. And he was like, "Well, we only do it like on Thursdays every week." He was like, "But let me hook you up with Moonshine Mantle, which is his wrestling name." He was like, "He's in Kansas City. He's a lot closer to you, and he has a wrestling academy."
So, Barbie, you're now entering into the world of wrestling. What's that like for you? And then, more importantly, how did that door even open up? We know you did bodybuilding and social work and all kind of things, but now you're dabbling into something that is truly different when it comes to working out, diet, training. You're in the competition.
Right.
And you're in your 30s. How did that even come about? When did the wrestling now take over your life?
Oh, it was when I wanted to get into the entertainment industry. and I realized that like my muscularity or like my physique was a very popular niche in the wrestling world. And
Mhm.
so I was like, well, this is a way I can, as I always felt like I didn't, something just was not fulfilled in my life. And I was like, what do I want to do? Like, I used to want to be a therapist, but I'm like, as you grow older, you realize you change. Your
Right.
values change. What you want to do changes possibly. So some people don't, I'll be honest, I don't think most people know what they want to do until they hit their 30s.
Why you
Like,
say that? Why you say that?
well, because we have experiences in our 20s and we grow from our experiences and we learn like what we do and don't like. And then if we've been doing something for so long while we're
Right.
still evolving and maturing as adults, we realize that we have better skill sets or we for something else, or we realize that we're not as passionate about this as we were before.
Mm.
Um, or we realize that we're not going to be the skill set or the career we picked is not going to be as profitable.
Right.
So a lot of us want to live a nice lifestyle where we can afford the things we want.
Mm.
And, some people come from rich families and they just, born into it. I was not.
Mm.
So it's like I've always enjoyed the entertainment industry. I've always, like I said, wanted to go into the modeling, the movies, acting, all the works. But I never actually, if I could ever redo it over again, I would have went to acting school. And I'd probably be in the movies and stuff right now, to be honest.
Okay.
But like that's what I would have done because I realized I have a passion for it and it doesn't feel like a job to me. I'm not like, when is this going to be over, kind of thing. And so whenever I found out about the session stuff, and I realized that you could actually make money as a session girl, fetish model, whatever you want to call it, when I
Right.
realized that you could make money doing that, I was like, well, shoot, like I was still working, but I was like, let me give this a shot. And I started traveling, and I was like, I'm getting way too many people hitting me up off the session girl site, wanting me to do private wrestling sessions with them. They're flying me to different cities. I was flown to London like over 3 months ago. I had somebody sponsor me a trip to London, and I had like 8 or 9 guys that I did wrestling sessions with.
8 or 9 guys individual, or 8 or 9 guys all at the same time.
Individually, they were private individual sessions.
So how did this transfer over to actually wrestling? Because you're actually wrestling now. That not the fetish thing, but you're actually wrestling, correct?
Right. So I had to take a break from it. I'm going back in July. You can't wrestle. I got implants. So you can't
Oh,
wrestle with implants for at least like 2 or 3 months because you don't want to like bust anything. And I also got, I'm not ashamed of it. Like I had a very nice physique and I built out some very good size muscular glutes, but I have hip dips and I don't like them. So I went and got a skinny BBL to have fat transfer into the hip dips, so I'd be more hourglass and I wouldn't have the hip dips. So I got those both done at the same time. And so recovery for that is like, after about 2 months, you can start getting back to your regular routine.
mhm.
But I'm going back to wrestling in July because I'll be ready to roll, back out and do everything again. Um, but yes, the ultimate goal is to get into the WWE, so that I can be, Buff Barbie the wrestler. I think if I could just find places of my character of like how I want to present Buff Barbie and all those things, like she could be a huge hit.
Mm.
My ultimate goal, though, is like I said, the wrestling is the WWE, but I want to make a statement and impact on women and young girls. A positive impacted statement that women can be beautiful and muscular at the same time. I think also wrestling. I'm accepted in that community. Like women get so much of a stereotype, like, oh, you're too buff. I'm an insecure man. I don't want to date you because your muscles are too big or they're bigger than mine. Blah, blah, blah. Like, women get that stereotype from men, and then they get it from other women who are just jealous that they don't have the discipline to get get to that size or get their muscles to that level. Or like we get stereotyped with, oh, you take steroids. That's the only reason why you're that big. I'm like, if that was the case, you still have to eat the right foods and you still have to eat the right amount of macros and calories consumed every day in order to get that way. Like you can't just eat anything you want and take gear, is what we call it, like, or juice or whatever one even calls it. I call it gear. You can't do that. You still have to work hard for the body. So I think the reason why wrestling is so much fun to me and I love it is because I get to take my muscular physique. I'm not as muscular as I was because I had the 2 months off from the gym, but I get to take my physique and I get to be accepted and appreciated and even to an extent worshipped by people who are like, I love your physique. It makes you feel good about yourself. You don't feel like you're being ashamed for the way you look or you're being judged in the dating pool because the man's too insecure to be able to handle a real woman with muscle. Just saying.
Have you ever
Like,
had insecurity issues with your body?
I never really liked my body as much when I was in high school. I was never fat. I was what you call thicker. So I always had like, bigger legs and fat would settle on my legs and glutes and that was never an issue. And to be honest, like I said, if I didn't have the hip dips, I'd have like perfectly round butt, like, because I never had an issue with that. I didn't have a flat butt. It was just that's where like my fat settles and those hip dips made it the shape not as round. So I didn't like that about my body. I always hated that. And then I wasn't fat, but I wasn't like, I didn't have abs. Like I always wanted abs and I'm like, I didn't have any of that stuff. But I guess also I didn't know how to even get to that point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the older I got, the more I educated myself on fitness and the more that I dabbled into it, like the more I started to understand it, I could help myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I hired somebody to help make sure I stayed accountable, that just, wrapped it all up. And I really, really excelled. So, yeah, I was not always happy with my body. And I was like most unhappiest, like whenever I was 28, I think it was when I was 28. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I had like shifted and like changed everything around.
Let me ask you a question. You're not wrestling professionally. Are you wrestling amateur level right now? Are you on an amateur circuit, so to speak, or what they call the school to get to the next level?
So I haven't got the chance to actually get in the ring and do shows. I've been practicing. I was practicing with the academy and I was getting pretty good. Like I catch on fast. So I've just been doing a lot of like private wrestling and like learning through practice experience through my like private sessions with guys. And then my roommate is really into wrestling, so he lets me practice with him sometimes too. But like I have not got on the circuit yet. No, like the plan was, here's what stopped me. The plan was for me to last December was to come on and be introduced into the ring into like one of my academy that I train with. They also have their own promo, the person who owns it, and they were going to put me in his promo and then introduce me and then start having me start working through there because I wanted to make sure I was ready to go on because it's a lot of work. Sometimes you don't get really good until a year in because you're learning everything, and unless you get like private lessons every day, like they got you other people training with you, and I'm the only female that's in the academy.
How does that look?
I loved it. Like the guys were always respectful. Like some of them like kind of timid to like try to rough me up and stuff. And my coach will be like, just treat her like anybody else. Because I have to, I got to be able to take hits and stuff too. So like, there was a couple of times where I did something wrong and I hurt one of the guys. And I was like, "Ugh." But I was still learning, and so like I even cut my nails down short so I wouldn't scratch anyone or like hurt anybody. So like until I was really good at like being able to like injuries, so I wouldn't cause any injuries. And the guys appreciated that. But like the guys really stepped up and helped me out a lot too, like the coach, but like his well-trained guys who were pretty good, like he'd have them even practice and work with me, and these guys are all younger than me. I think I'm almost the oldest one in there.
What's the advantages and disadvantages of trying to get to the professional rankings with your age, with the like of training? This is going to take a while. You already said, and I know as a former professional bodybuilder how long it takes to be good in bodybuilding, but now you're trying to be good in wrestling. Let's be real. Age is a factor. You're in your 30s. what's the pros and cons here? And is it a realistic dream? It's realistic if you believe it, but let's look at let's look at the numbers and all that. Is this a realistic dream for you?
I think it's attainable for the fact that I am 35, yes, but I'm in better shape physically for health wise than a lot of 20-something-year-olds
Mm-hmm.
because of the way I take care of my body, which helps me out quite a bit. Now, am I going to be able to wrestle probably for like 10 years plus like some of these others? Probably not. But I also don't want to put all that I don't want to put all that stress and wear and tear on my body. But even if I got in there and only did it for like, let's say till I'm 40, 45, there's some wrestlers that are still in their 40s doing it. So I know I could still get in a good probably 5 years. Worst case scenario, I'm still making an impact. I'm still making my mark on the world. And that's not even my ultimate goal for the end anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All this will lead up to my Buff Barbie brand.
Okay, so really, it's not about really so much wrestling. Yeah, you want to be a professional, but the ideal is really you want to focus on the Buff Barbie brand. How is that looking? Like, what are some of the things that you're doing without giving out your complete secrets? But what are some of the things that you're doing to amplify that brand so far?
Well, I've thought of colors, the logos that I want to use. I've thought about how I'm going to spell it so that me and Mattel don't butt heads. And I have thought about the type of clothing I would make. I've already thought about like designs in my head and stuff like that. So I have like an idea of what I want to do. But I keep getting told that I need to make a mark of like people need to know who I am. I need to become popular in the influencer world, social media, and all that stuff. So that way, when I do, it just hits. Like everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is." Like you want to buy that because the Beth Barbie, the wrestler, is the one who developed this clothing line.
Now, how do you think what you do as your other job, the fetish wrestling, is going to affect your brand moving forward? Because you said it right off the bat. You're going to have haters, and some people may not like that. They may not want to attach their brand to you because of that. Would you be willing to walk away from that lucrative amount of money to really push your brand?
What do you mean? Like people who have their you mean sponsorships?
Yeah, because some sponsors may not want to attach their name to you with the fetish thing going on. Would you be willing to walk away from that to amplify your brand? Because your brand is, well, just like when you closed your records, you couldn't get a job. Right. Society is going to judge everything that you do. Social media is going to impact your career very much. But the fetish thing could be a crippling factor for you. Even though it's lucrative money, how are you going to separate the two if sponsors say, you know what, we want to sponsor you, but you know what, this part of your lifestyle may hurt our brand. So how are you going to handle that?
Well, so the session thing, like the fetish thing, that's not something I'm going to do forever either. You can't do that forever. That literally is just a way, and I'll tell sponsors this like straight up like anybody else. Like I have no shame. Like this is how I was able to afford to take care of myself, pay for my very expensive hair that creates the Buff Barbie look that everyone likes so much. Mm-hmm. Like, it's expensive being a woman and looking nice and maintaining yourself. And even, like, your supplements, your food, all those things. So the look that you're after and the Buff Barbie itself wouldn't be existing right now if I wasn't such a determined person who was a hustler, obviously a heart, and a grinder that, like, makes their money and, doesn't let obstacles get in their way. And, obviously I'm just smart enough to utilize a niche that's very lucrative. Do I want to do that forever? No. If I had quite a few sponsors that were like, this is okay, but you have to leave this alone. But if you're going to be paying me to sponsor me, and we have contracts and stuff, I can leave that alone. I can stop doing those sessions. I have no problem with that.
Okay. So before we wrap up, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to interview the future Buff Barbie. I don't want Mattel coming after me either.
I know.
But what's next for you? You got everything pretty much ironed out. What's the final straw here? What do we need to do? What do you need to do to make the dream a reality?
Well, what I need is I need to start having people sponsor me, and like I need to I need to grow on social media. I need to get sponsored. I need to grow on social media. I need to become relevant to people on the social media platform. I need to become popular, as you say. Like I have people that I look up to that have, 5.6 million followers on Instagram, millions of followers on TikTok, those kinds of things. But like I want to
But
become
you know, a lot
relevant.
of people buy those things, right?
That's true, they do. But I also look at their engagement to see like what's legitimately, you know what I mean? Because their engagement should match up to their following.
Right.
And then you'll see them like, some of the bodybuilders and stuff, like they'll have a thing where you see them signing stuff. They're at a thing like an event or something that's about them or whatever. And it's like, and some of them are sponsored by different brands, like I drink Ghost energy drinks, like those kinds of things pay me contracts to like advertise their stuff. I would love to be the face of, different brands and stuff like that, because eventually I want to become a brand myself.
Mhm.
So that is like what I am technically working on. That's like my next step is like, somebody or people, several brands want to work with me and pay me to represent their brand. Like, and then obviously that's going to grow into mine. So like, this is what I'm really focusing on.
So why should I attach my brand to you? Take me down the reason. If I'm a sponsor and I see you, I see everything that you're doing. Some things I might like, some things I don't. Why should I attach my brand to you? What makes me want to put my dollar behind you?
Here's one of the stories I love telling, and I didn't bring this up in here. This helped me realize how relevant I actually am and like how popular I am, not even realizing it. So one of the times I was on a plane, I was going to Miami. It was an interconnected flight, I think. But I was getting on the plane, and we were going from I think it was Dallas Airport to Miami, something like that. This black girl got up she was on the plane. She walks up and she keeps staring at me and she keeps smiling at me while I'm sitting there in the seat. And she goes, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful." And I was like, "Well, thank you." So I'm just thinking she just thinks I'm really pretty, and so and so when we get off the plane, she follows me. Her and her friend follow me, and she taps me, and she goes, "Excuse me." She was like, "Can she get a picture with you?" And I'm like, "Ah." And she was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I follow you on Instagram." She was like, "I'm a huge fan of yours." I'm like, "Ah, really?" I was like, "That's awesome." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll take a picture." And I wish I would have got her info to see it or whatever, because I don't know if she's too shy to post it, but I took a picture with her, and she was like shy to talk to me and like take the picture. So I'm like, I didn't even realize that people would even recognize me like out in a whole other city.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, I feel like I could really be something. I could be very relevant to people, and I have a very interesting life, and I worked very hard. I think a lot of women can relate to like my determination from
Mhm.
where I was to where I got to. So I feel like I could empower a lot of women
Okay.
um, to like be the best version of themselves, and I feel like women could look at me as like, I don't let people tell me what to do. I don't settle for less. Like, it's what I represent. Like, you can be beautiful and be muscular. Like, I could reach out to a lot of women who maybe have like a complex about not feeling pretty because they are a little bit more muscular or something. Or even women who aren't muscular. Like, if you could look at my old pictures, I look
Right.
nothing like this.
Right.
I literally look totally different. I went to go see my family I haven't seen them in like 7 years. And I went to go see my family. My hometown's like 6 hours away. And I've been that busy working on myself. So when I went to go see them, my own aunt was like, "Christy," she was like, "You don't even look like you. You do, but you don't." I was like, "Yeah, a lot's changed in 7 years." So it's like, I don't even look like I used to. I worked really hard. I reinvented myself. That's what makes me different.
What
I don't
does your
even come
family
from this
What
background.
does your family think about? You've been away for 7 years. Before we wrap up, you've been away for 7 years. All of a sudden, you come back totally different. Transformation, plastic surgery, muscles out the wazoo, different personality. How was your family adjusting to the new Buff Barbie brand?
My family is very proud of me, actually. Like, My mom says that she's proud of me. My aunts, well, he should be my uncle, but they've been together for so long. So my uncle, like he said, yeah, you look really, really good. Like none of them said they all said I looked really good. I've really taken care of myself. They're really proud of how far I've come, like the money I've made, the impact I've made. I mean, I even, my grandma. She's given me a lot of money in the past. So one day I just sent her $1,000 for Christmas, and I thought she was just gonna lose it. And so it's just like stuff like that. Like my family is super proud of me. They really, and I also don't let it get to my head. I don't act like I'm better than anybody else. I
Okay.
gave somebody a $20 tip at Starbucks the other day, and I didn't expect anything back. And it's
Wow.
like, it's just like I'm a really nice person, and I think a lot of people like my down to earth vibe that I have when they talk to me.
Chrissy, aka Buff Barbie, thank you for taking time out to come on the show. Before we wrap up, how can the viewers follow you on social media and watch your journey unfold?
Well, on Instagram, I have Buff Barbie. The way I spell it, though, is it's all lowercase. It's BUFF underscore. Let me make sure I did this right, because I had to do it like this because other people had Barbie as well.
Right.
It's BUFFBAR. So Buff Bar, and then it's underscore B.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah, so Buff Barbie. It says Buff Barbie, but it's not spelled the same.
Okay.
And that's going to be a barbell in that dash. So I've already got it planned out. Like, that's how you can find me on
your brand ready
Instagram.
to go. You got your brand ready to go, huh?
Oh, yeah. And then on TikTok, it's the same thing. If you follow me on TikTok, which I'm getting popular on there, my mom's video went viral. It's the same thing. Buff Bar underscore B, BUFFBAR underscore B. So that's my TikTok and my Instagram, and those are my main platforms.
Okay.
So yeah, I do all kinds of things. That's how everybody can pretty much follow my journey.
Okay. Sounds like a winner. Thank you once again for coming on the show. Make sure you guys follow her. Like I said, with every episode, all it takes is a click of a button to make a friend or to have somebody make a difference in your life. Buff Barb, I wish you the best. Keep me posted. Love to have you come onto the show live and entertain us and keep us going to help build your brand. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.